There's a mindset that drives almost every great leader, a belief that they can shape outcomes, control the game, bend the world toward a goal. Psychologists call it a strong internal locus of control, and it's rocket fuel for success. But here's the trap. The very trait that makes leaders unstoppable is the same one that can make them blind. Because if you're not careful, belief in your control morphs into something far more dangerous, the illusion of control. And when that happens, even the best leaders can drive off a cliff. In this video, we're breaking down why high-achieving leaders are more likely to fall into this trap, and how it's led to some of the biggest business blow-ups in history, and how to protect yourself without losing the confidence that got you here in the first place. So let's talk about what a locus of control actually is. Your locus of control is how much you believe you can influence the events in your life. If you have an external locus of control, you believe your outcomes are shaped by luck, by fate, by what other people do. People with that mindset often feel powerless, they play the victim, and they rarely ascend to leadership roles. But if you have an internal locus of control, you believe your actions matter, that what you do determines what happens. And here's the key. Research shows that people who rise to executive roles tend to have a strong internal locus of control. They don't wait for permission, they take accountability, they push through obstacles. That mindset, it's often why they get promoted. But when success stacks up, that belief can morph. Leaders start attributing outcomes solely to their skill and discount luck, randomness, and systemic noise. And that's when a strong internal locus of control turns into the illusion of control. The illusion of control is a tendency to overestimate your ability to influence events, especially those driven by chance. Let's see what happens when this trap isn't caught. Elizabeth Holmes founded Theranos as a revolutionary health tech company promising to run hundreds of blood tests from a single drop of blood. Her confidence and belief in herself attracted an all-star team of investors and advisors, including former Secretary of State George Shultz. But that same confidence led her to ignore scientists, regulators, and mounting evidence that the technology didn't work. Her belief that sheer determination could overcome biological complexity and regulatory standards was a textbook case of the illusion of control. After stepping away from day-to-day operations, Howard Schultz returned to lead Starbucks during a time of changing consumer behaviors and increased competition. Confident that his original playbook would work again, he made bold moves to reorient the company. But many strategies backfired because he underestimated how much the landscape had shifted. His assumption that past success would guarantee future results reflected the illusion of control. Adam Neumann scaled WeWork at breakneck speed, turning a co-working space concept into a global phenomenon. His personal charisma and early wins made him believe he could bend business fundamentals to his will. He pushed for a massive IPO at an inflated valuation, ignoring cash flow issues and governance concerns. The illusion of control was central to the $47 billion collapse in WeWork's valuation. These aren't just stories of ego. They're proof that unchecked, the illusion of control can be catastrophic. And yes, these examples are extreme. But the illusion of control doesn't just show up in billion-dollar headlines. It shows up in boardrooms, project teams, and one-on-one decisions every day. I'm sure you can think of leaders you've worked with or worked for who started to believe they couldn't miss. That's how the trap works. It flatters you into thinking you're the exception, but none of us are. And that's why step 4 of Enabling Empowerment's decision-making framework exists, to force you to challenge your assumptions, quantify the uncertainty, and stress test your decisions. Instead of relying on instinct, you model a range of outcomes, best case, worst case, most likely. You don't just say we'll win, you ask what if we're wrong. Here's how to put this into practice. Number 1, speak in ranges instead of certainties. When you give a single point estimate for any key driver or variable in a decision, you're already implying more certainty and control than likely exists. Instead, speak in ranges. Estimate outcomes using a range that reflects the inherent uncertainty and encourage your team to do the same. This habit trains your organization to think in terms of probabilities, not illusions. Number 2, tie the degree of control to the width of your ranges. Building on the previous point, the degree of control you actually have over a variable should directly shape how wide your estimate range is. For any big decision, classify your key drivers into 3 categories: control, influence, and external. Then reflect that classification in your range estimates. For drivers you control directly, use a narrow range. For those you can influence but not fully control, use a wider range. And for drivers that are entirely external, model the widest range. Your level of control should shape how much uncertainty you build into your projections. Number 3, audit your wins. We often only audit the decisions that go wrong. But if you're committed to becoming a better decision maker over time, reviewing your decisions, especially the ones that went well, is essential. Ask, did this turn out well for the reasons we expected, or did we just get lucky? Make a habit of randomly selecting decisions to review, not just the failures. You'll uncover blind spots and reinforce the behaviors that truly drive results. Number 4, simulate external shocks. Build at least one scenario where external events or forces you can't control disrupt your plan. What happens if your top customer walks away? If a regulatory change hits your industry? If the economy stalls? Then ask, how resilient is our strategy? Can we adapt without starting over? This kind of simulation forces you to confront the limits of your control before reality does. There's nothing wrong with having a strong internal locus of control. In fact, it's practically a prerequisite for becoming a successful leader. No one wants to follow someone who always blames failure on things beyond their control. That belief that your actions shape outcomes is what gives leaders their drive, their resilience, and their edge. But the danger comes when we start believing that all of our success is solely the result of our actions. That's when the illusion of control creeps in and sets the trap. The good news is, you don't have to give up that confidence or the swagger that got you to the top. You just need the discipline to use a structured process, like Enabling Empowerment's decision-making framework, to balance that confidence with clarity. When you do that, you keep the edge, without the blind spots. If you're serious about being the best leader you can be, I'll drop a link below where you can learn more about our decision-making framework.